With the change in administration and the inauguration in January of President Trump, I know a lot of my constituents have expressed concern about where the country's going. And of course, when the appointments were announced of Jeff Sessions and Steve Bannon, many were concerned that the Trump administration would continue this divisive, sometimes hate-filled rhetoric which divides us as Americans. And so I just wanted to take a minute to mention to my constituents that I intend to continue to fight for the values of this country and for the gains that we've made in areas that I think are important to most Americans. And I'm talking about things like making sure that most Americans have health insurance, that we protect Social Security and Medicare, that we protect the environment, that we continue to have a country that values civil liberties. And so I just wanted to take a minute to talk about some of these things and assure you that I'm going to continue to fight for these gains and for these values. With regard to the Affordable Care Act, or some call it Obamacare, we've made a lot of progress. Millions and millions of Americans who did not have health insurance before have it now. Over 90% of Americans have health insurance. And when we hear the Trump administration saying they're going to dismantle the Affordable Care Act, I want you to know that I'm going to fight against that, because we have to make sure that more and more Americans have health insurance. With regard to environmental protection, we've heard that the Trump administration may withdraw from the Paris Agreement on climate change, or rescind the Clean Power Plan that tries to reduce the amount of emissions in the atmosphere and contribute to greenhouse gases. And I'm certainly going to fight against that as well, because it's very important that we have environmental protection, that environmental regulations are strong. And then the third thing, of course, we hear is that there's a possibility of cutting back on benefits for Social Security or Medicare, or privatizing these programs. Again, I intend to fully fight against those changes, because Medicare was started under Social Security was started under Franklin Roosevelt. Medicare was started under President Johnson. And these were Democratic presidents who believed strongly that we needed to have retirement security for our seniors. And we cannot settle for any kind of cuts in those benefits or privatizing those programs, because that simply won't work. And I also feel very strongly about our civil liberties as a country. We need to have a strong Voting Rights Act. We need to make sure that people are not discriminated against because of their sexual orientation, that women's right to choose is protected, that immigrants, that there isn't some kind of rounding up of immigrants for deportation. We should have immigration reform so that people who pay their taxes, learn English, have a way to become a citizen, even if they are here undocumented. So I just want all of you to know that I will continue to fight for the gains that we've made, for the progressive agenda that I think is important, and I'm not going to sit back and let President Trump run roughshod over these gains and over the values that I think are important to us as Americans. Thank you.